that the sleeves are completely set in differently and they are completely wrong, that is because they're completely wrong and I couldn't figure out how to get them set in properly. I'll work on that in the next version. I don't really understand why these curve down. I'm just gonna keep going with it because that's what the pattern wants you to do. But wouldn't it, if boobs are round this way, wouldn't it make more sense for them to curve up along the body? Not sure what's going on there. I did try to play around with setting them in so that they curve up, but the angle is wrong and I'd have to completely redraft a piece, and I just don't want to do that. So they're gonna stay as is. I think the biggest issue is with the arm's eye in this pattern. It sits, I don't know if you can see, but the arm's eye is way out here. My arm bend, my arm's eye should be in here, and it's actually way out here on the pattern. And then at the back, there is, you can see where it gathers weird. The arm's eye, just, the whole arm's eye just feels like it's rotated around the back of my body. And I don't know, I've already cut the pattern, so I think it's too late to like play with different pattern piecing sizes. Maybe I needed a bigger back and a smaller front to kind of rotate that all forward. But when I did the pattern math, it didn't tell me to use two different pattern sizes. It told me to use these pattern pieces, so I'm not quite sure there. So instead of playing around with the pattern sizes, I think what I'm gonna do instead is just try to rotate the arm forward in the pattern, bring it in at the front, and then bring it out in the back, and just see if that pulls the pattern, the arm's eye forward. The only other issue I think I'm having, but I don't want to deal with too many problems at once, but I'm foreseeing that I might have too much, ouch, oh, I got myself in a pin there. The only other issue that I think I might run into is that there's an awful lot of fabric here. So if I hold this about where I think I'm going to pin it, there's a lot of fabric here. You are supposed to gather it and take the darts in, but even if I gathered this where it wants you to, there's just a lot of extra. So we'll have to see when I get to the second mock-up if it is something I want to pin out. I'd like it to be slightly more form-fitting, I think, especially as the skirt is going to overlap this and sit on top. I think I want it to be as poof-free as possible. So I think that all makes sense. I'm not going to mess around with the sleeves until we get to the next mock-up because that was not fun and I don't want to do it again. So push that off as far as possible. Yeah, I think that is it for now, and I will see when I have more to report. And I was like, who are you talking to? All right, I realize this may be a little hard to see. It's white on white on white here. I'm wearing my chemise, which is what you can see the sleeve. My stays corset, was it still a stays in the Regency era? Not sure. My stays are underneath and they do stick out a little bit. That's just where they sit from the pattern. So those stick out ever so slightly, but hopefully you can see the arm's eye of, I'll try to get a closer shot. The arm's eye of this mock-up is much better. The whole thing has been rotated forward slightly, and I'm really happy with the fit. Let me unpin this so you can see. So this overlaps. I have this one pinned. The only other adjustment I think I'm going to make is to take, there's a lot of room here, and so I just took some more fabric out of this dart here, so I have to mark that, adjust that on my pattern, and then I think I'm ready for the silk. That slightly terrifies me. I might go ahead and make, I have enough fabric, you can hear the dog squeaking in the background. I might have enough fabric to do a full mock-up, and I might do that just to ward off any weird imperfections or any weird instructions that I don't understand, and I can work it out on a much cheaper fabric. So I think I might have some stripy sheets that would actually make a fairly decent like finished mock-up version of this for like a day dress. So I might do that first, just to make sure before I cut into my very expensive silk. Wow. So it's just in the middle of filming my what I made while I was away video. If you haven't watched that yet, I'll link it up here for you, or up here. I don't remember which corner it's in. And I wanted to show you the fully realized mock-up, the wearable mock-up of my Regency dress. I'm so glad that I did this. I had a lot of little issues with it along the way, and I learned a lot. So now when I do the ball gown version, I think I'll be much better prepared for what is to come. So we'll start at the top and work our way down with the few fit and issues that I had and the things I'm going to change. So firstly, with the neckline, I'm still getting my stays, my corset showing behind my gown. So I think I need to alter the pattern ever so slightly to just come up a little bit higher and cover that. I've already lowered the front of my stays, but I lowered the bust point on that already, and I don't really want to do it again. It's about as low as I want it to go. So again, I'm just going to raise the front of the pattern up, probably just by 1/4 inch on either side, and so hopefully it will cover that as well. I can pin it so that it doesn't show, but then it puts a lot of strain on the shoulders and the rest of the garment, so I think this is where it needs to be, and I just need to raise that a little bit. So next up was the waistline. I made a very large mistake with this in the fact that I left the fashion fabric, the nice fabric, loose, and what you're supposed to do is attach the skirt to the fashion fabric and then have the lining on the inside underneath this loose. Then what I think you're supposed to do is loop the waistband around under your dress and then bring it forward underneath the apron part and tie it here, and that's what keeps it tensioned. So you're essentially tying it all the way around yourself but under the garment. So this is incorrect. If you can see little ribbons poking out here, that's because I did it on the wrong side. For this dress, it doesn't bother me too much. I'm not too worried about it. It does kind of have a propensity to slide around, so I think if I was going to wear this somewhere, I'd have to like really pin it. Also, this gapes a bit here at the side because it's supposed to go underneath instead of over the top. So not perfect, but if I ever wore this somewhere, I could just add like pin this all really well and add a waist sash and call it a day. I think I'd be fine. A few changes I do want to make. I think for the evening gown version, there is not nearly enough volume in the back. Also, I want to attempt, and I don't know if this is historically accurate or not, but I'm using this as an excuse to try cartridge pleating. So I want to cartridge pleat the gathered section at the back here. So I'm going to have to do the math about that, see where how much extra fabric I'm going to have to add to be able to cartridge pleat that section in the back. I just really want it to be super voluminous, as this is an evening gown. Additionally, I'm not a huge fan of the gathers in the front. The fact that this section sort of free-form gathers in the front, I think I'm just going to have it be a straight panel. So I'm going to pull it tight and just see what this measurement is here, maybe add a little bit extra, but just have that be a straight panel, and then not have the gathering channel here. I'm just going to have like a little waistband tied on it permanently flat so that it has a really nice flat profile in the front, and then in the back we have all of the volume. What else? I haven't finished the hem because I hate hems. So that I have left to do. That's going in my UFO pile. But I think otherwise, overall, I'm really happy with the way the dress turned out. Maybe someday I'll go back and fix this overlap issue, but for now it doesn't bother me at all. And I think that is it for now. We are on to the actual silk of the gown. Hi. All right. So I have done my cartridge pleat test. I just doubled up my fabric and ran some cartridge pleats in, and I tested to see how many cartridges pleats I could fit in an inch, and then multiplied that by the space, and anyway, I did all the math. And it turns out that I can fit 7 pleats per inch. I extrapolated all of that out, and that means that each of the back panels has to be 31.5 inches wide. It's a lot of fabric. So I have adjusted my back panel. It's almost double the width that it was. So I did that. That is all, as I screw things up, that is all ready to go. The only other pattern adjustments I have made, hold on. The only other pattern adjustments I made were to the, hopefully you can see this, on the bodice front. I added just a little 1/2 inch, I kind of tapered that in all the way down, so hopefully the bodice will cover my stays in the front. I think that's it. Now I have to start marking on my silk. Ooh, wish me luck. Ahead with piecing the bodice together. So far it has gone pretty well. Let me show you where we're at. I have the lining attached, so I attached the lining at the neck per the instructions, and then I also, because I'm cartridge pleating the back, I didn't leave this raw like you're supposed to. I actually I attached the lining to the bottom edge as well. So that is done. And then I also went along, so where the satin meets the satin, it wants to, like, let me show you on the front here, and kind of around these lines that I stitched, it wants to gape away. No amount of ironing makes that lay flat. So I went through and I ironed it probably hotter than I should have, but the fabric seems fine. And just ran a basting stitch along here just to kind of keep it as tightly pressed together as it can be. I'm hoping that by the time I'm done with this, I can take this out and it will just lay nice and flat. If it won't, I'll go back with a top stitch, but I know that's not entirely historically accurate, so I didn't really want to do it until it was an absolute necessity. I also added on, in the instructions, they have you add these extension panels on at the very end, but I figured it would just be easier while I was sewing the darts and all of that to add these on the front as well. So I've added those on. Oh, I also basted the armholes. In the instructions, you sew up the side seams and then you baste these together, but I figured I would do it while it was laying flat, and that way I could ensure that all of this material is laying super flat together. It's just easier to do while it was a flat piece instead of a 3-dimensional thing. So I think it's looking pretty great. I'm excited about moving forward. My next steps are to put the side seams in and the underbust support that you put in, which I have over there. Those are sewn. And then you can see all of my skirt pieces are ready to go.
I think when I did my mock-up version, I did a French seam on the inside, but I think just for expediency, I've already bound the edges. So I think I'm just going to do a regular seam for those. It will eliminate any like squidging. I can get them really nice and flat together. If I have to do double that for a French seam, there's a chance that the seams will get wonky and then the satin won't hang as flat. So I think that's it. I have a few things to do. Like I have to sew the waistband on the top up here and turn over the edges up here and get these all prepped and ready to go. And then after that, I can start assembling the skirt. So I have tacked some little loops in the back of the bodice. This is the front of the bodice. This is the back lining. So I've attacked some loops here that the ties for the skirt are going to go through later. And I have made little tiny marks for all of my cartridge pleats. Hello friends. Apologies if this is, here comes Neville. You want to be involved? Okay. Hello friends, sorry if this is shaky footage. I don't actually know where my camera is. I went away for a week and it is no longer here. So, this is my first time trying on this layer of the dress, and I have to say, I am, what are you making noise about? I have to say that I am unbelievably thrilled with how this is fitting, how this has turned out. Everything fits beautifully. It looks beautiful. I know you're looking at this in a mirror. I know that's different. A few more tweaks I need to make. Let's see if I can show you this properly. I don't know if you can see, but it's like pulling funny here in the armpit, and there's actually quite a bit of, you see where my thumb goes back? Sorry, this is terrible footage. My thumb goes back underneath. It's the under layer. There's like a thing that holds this underneath that's made of lining fabric, and it's pulling this whole back piece forward, but it's also not pulling the front piece forward. So I think I'm going to re-sew this seam so that this lays flat, and actually you can see it kind of wants to meet up right here where this little tab is. So I'm going to mark that, and I think re-sew these side seams. I might have to do it by hand. I'm not sure, but take some of this front fabric out so that it wants to lay flatter and actually meet up with the side seam nicely. And then the only other issue I'm having is that hopefully this isn't too dark in the waistband. I can see this. I rolled the waistband over so that these two sections lie flat together, which is really nice. But the other issue I'm having is that there's nothing to hold, especially because this is silk satin, there's nothing to hold the waistband up. So when I tighten it and tie it, it wants to slide down to my natural waistline. So I'm debating, I think if I put snaps on here, because this is an adjustable top, if I'm ever a little heavier or a little lighter, the snaps and things will not actually match up. So I think what I'm going to do instead, and I can show you in a clip in just a second, I had sewn some little loops in the back to run the cord through so that they stay up their back underneath here, attached to the lining. I think what I'm going to do is attach some of those little loops right up under here as well, so that it has something to hold it up in the front. Also, if I just got myself with a pin. Also, that hurt. Also, if I have to pin it, I guess I can. There is going to be an overlayer over the top of this, but I would rather not pin it. So I think some little hidden loops just under the edge of the dress here will help keep this waistband up where it needs to be. And then the last thing I have to do is the hem. Oh, there's a very sad pup. And I think the front, you can't even see that. I think the front of the hem is the perfect length. I think the back is the perfect length. I just need to go and kind of even everything out. And I'm probably just going to do one little single roll, like a little tiny roll hem, because if I lose too much length, it's going to be too short. And I think that's it. So I've made a couple of adjustments to the bodice that I was going to make. You can see here the difference between, oh, I ironed it. You can kind of see the stitching. I essentially just took a wedge-shaped bit out of the front of the bodice here. The back of the bodice stayed the same line. And then I just kind of rotated this piece back. So we'll see if that works. And then these on the inside are the original 2 loops that I used to run the drawstring through. And then I added one here and I added one on the other side. So hopefully now when I pull this tight, it will help keep the front panel up at my underbust as opposed to wanting to ride down to my waist. So I think that's it for now. I just have to do the hem. So this is where I'm at. The undergown is completely finished. The overlayer is going to be this silk chiffon in a navy blue. I've just done some draping of it. It will not gather like this in the front. I just did that so I can see the effect of the neckline, how that is going to match up. I think I'm going to split it in the front and then have it drape back and have a curved hem on the bottom at the front here, drape back that way. But I just sort of did this to see how I liked the layout. Let me spin her around here for you. Oh, this came unpinned. Well, it's going to be a V in the back as well. It's going to be a V in the back as well, and I'm going to have the stitching lines follow the lines of the undergown so that where the fabric overlaps at the seam, there's sort of a dark line where the seams are. I think that will look really pretty. I also was playing around with how much fabric I want to have in the back for the drape. So I was doing that. I think this fabric is 45 inches wide, and I think just one panel draped right here in the back is going to be perfect. I do think I'm going to do a bit of a longer hem in the back. I'm really loving the way this kind of puddly drapey effect is in the back. So I'm going to have it come out further than the pink underdress. And I think we're pretty much good. I have started working on modifying all the pattern pieces that I use for this. I'm just going to use for the overlayer, and I've been working on modifying those and making those look nice. I don't even know. I don't think I need to do a mock-up of this overgown. After making this one, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all of the seams as French seams so that they're all internalized and I don't have to worry about unraveling. This fabric, this gauze unravels very easily. And then once it's all made, I'm gonna go through and just very strategically tack it to the pink underdress so that I don't have to worry about them being 2 separate items. And then it will be front closing here. So it will have a closure here and it'll be tacked like at the shoulders and at the waistband and things like that. But I will make sure that I can get into the underlayer later. And I think that's it. I think that's it for now. There'll be a couple little embellishment pieces once I get them. Yeah, let's get to sewing this next layer. All right, sheer overlayer is on. Again, a few tweaks I'm gonna make, but all in all, this has turned out beautifully. I do think it is overlapping slightly too much in the front. I want these 2 points to just sort of meet right at center front. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm just going to, these darts that are in here, I'm just gonna gather these a little bit more so that this overlap is gone in the front. And then let me see if I can show you the back, because the other issue is with the back. Excuse the weird angle. Hopefully you can see back behind here. If you can see on the dress right at the top where the V meets with the gathers, you can just see it in profile, how it sticks out funny right there. I think I just need to do some tacking stitches to kind of flatten that down slightly. I like the volume, but that little center part is just poofing out slightly too much. But that is what it looks like in the back. So it has the matching V. And then in the front, this is what we've got. I'm thrilled to bits. This has turned out so beautifully. All right, well, the trim finally came in for my Regency ball gown. It's a little bit blue. It's a little more blue than I wanted, but really in this kind of like satiny trim, it was the only color I could get. So I think I'm just gonna have to make do. I'm going to add some V's to the front. Those will get tacked on to here at center front, and then the shoulder seams, and then the back. So it'll become part of the overdress. I also want to do some edging along the front up here. I just feel like this raw edge, let's see if I can get close enough. This raw edge doesn't just look fantastic. So I'm going to try and see if I can just tack hand sew this satin trim on the edge. If my sewing skills are not good enough, I'll just leave it be. But yeah, and then I'm going to make a little loop and sort of like monkey's fist closure for right here. A lot of hand sewing to do today. Hopefully it will go well. Wish me luck. All right, this gown is basically ready to go for costume college. This will all be pinned flat. I also have a chemise that doesn't have sleeves on it, so this will actually just all be sheer, which is great. Yeah, the gown is ready to go. It's hemmed and everything. Hi, I just wanted to pop off and do a quick outro for this video. I am totally thrilled with where my Regency gown has ended up. I think I learned a lot and my skills have really improved because of it. That's been really fun. Additionally, I have, ooh, I'm shaking. Additionally, I have some other pieces that I'd like to go with this outfit. Probably a Spencer to go over the top, as well as a reticule so I can carry my stuff with me. I'm not sure if I already mentioned this, but I think I'm gonna be wearing it on the Friday of costume college and wearing it to the social. So we're gonna be running around all over the building doing activities, and I need something to keep all my stuff in. So a reticule and a Spencer are on the way. I should have those videos up for you very shortly. I think that's it for now. I hope you are all happy and well and safe, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.